National Series. I deem it my honor to welcome our speaker of the day, Dr. Vijay Singh Thakur. I extend a very warm welcome to our principal, Professor Dr. Atima Sharma Dwivedi. Welcome, ma'am. I also welcome all the faculty members and students who have joined us. Great things happen when there is a gathering of great minds. So what better gathering than this, and what better time than now? Now I take the honor to invite our worthy Madam Principal, Professor Dr. Atima Sharma Dwivedi, who has always created learning opportunities for us. Ma'am, please share a few words.
Thank you very much, Agrima, for a very warm and kind beginning to this wonderful interactive session of international level. Dr. Vijay Singh Thakur, first of all, we extend once again a very, very warm welcome to you and gratitude for always very generously participating in all academic activities that we feel privileged to invite you, and then your participation has always been so very valuable. Though overseas, you seem so much a part of our own institution that now almost we can call it the post-corona times. Hopefully it will continue to be strengthened like that without any more new waves, hopefully. So when we started planning some international series, so the first name that came to our mind was yours, because as I said, that though you are overseas, but you seem so much a part of our own academic extended parivar. So once again, with these words, welcome to you. And I also wish to compliment Head of the Department, Dr. Madhumeet, and the whole team of the faculty to have organized this wonderful event. And without further saying anything more, as we all understand that research is an essential part of academic activity, and your topic today is extremely relevant and also inspiring. Why I said inspiring? Because, generally while we are teaching or we are learning, research sometimes takes a backseat. So when we listen to interactive sessions like this, especially from a specialist and a very erudite scholar like you, I'm sure this is inspirational. And I hope that after this interactive session, especially your scholarship as we partake of, I'm sure that many of us would be inspired to take up some more valuable research projects. So thank you once again, and all of you have a very good session. My best wishes for the session, and Professor Thakur, as I said, that we look forward to have you on the campus at the earliest, whenever it is possible for you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your kind words. We will meet soon, hopefully.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your encouraging words always. Now I would like to post you with the rich credentials of the speaker of the day, Dr. Vijay Singh Thakur, Associate Professor, Department of English, Language and Literature, Assistant Dean, College of Arts and Applied Sciences, Dhofar University, Salalah, Oman. His field of specialization and interest includes applied social linguistics, discourse stylists, and cross-cultural pragmatics. He has a list of research papers, journals, and books to his credit. He has received innumerable awards and recognitions. And sir, we are beyond honored to have you today amongst us. Now, without taking much of your time, I would like you to please begin with your talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So let me share my screen. It says host disabled participant screen sharing or something.
You are co-host now. You can share your screen now.
So multiple participants. Shall I use that one?
Sir, you have to click on the share screen. Then your
I did that one. There are many options. Multiple participants can share. one participant can share?
Sir, one participant can share.
Okay. Is it visible now?
No, sir, not yet now.
Yeah. Now
I think it's visible. Thank you. So first of all, let me thank Agrima for giving a detailed introduction about me. Then let me express my gratitude for the chairman, sir, the principal, Dr. Atima Sharma Dwivedi ji, head of the department, Dr. Madhumeet ji, Seema ji, and the whole KMV fraternity. With immense gratitude and thanks, I begin my talk. So as you already know, and it is also announced, the topic of today's talk is principles, parameters, and framework of research in educational perspectives. The main objective of today's presentation is to provide an informed discussion of the principles and parameters which determine the framework in which research is developed, demonstrated, and also evaluated. The specific aims that flow from this main objective are the following. What is research and why do we need to undertake research? Its importance. Different ways of creating education and importance of research in that context. Different realms of research. Then the interface between scholarship and research. After that, the standards, that is, principles and parameters of developing and evaluating research. And finally, I would be presenting moral obligations of educational research. What is research and why do we need to do research? Let's begin with a simple definition. Research, in very simple terms, is a research. Not simply a search, it's a research for reality and knowledge. It is not a mere search or exploration of reality and or knowledge. Research is a critical inquiry, critical investigation, critical examination, and study of ontology, which is a branch of philosophy that deals with the nature of existence, and also epistemology, which the part of philosophy that deals with knowledge. Epistemology is related to that. Simply put, one's view of reality and being is called ontology. And the view of how one acquires language is termed as epistemology. There is an obvious, clear interface between research, scholarship, and education. All are interrelated. They are co-constructed. Creating scholarship and education through research is the most effective way of creating knowledge and also education. Here I am quoting Bassi, 1992. Moreover, it is also more authentic way of creating scholarship and knowledge as compared to other normal ways. A research can be undertaken for two different purposes. First purpose is to contribute to the general body of knowledge in a particular area of interest. This is basic or fundamental research. Second purpose is research is conducted to solve a currently existing problem. This is applied research, practical research. And very recent live example is COVID pandemic. A lot of applied researches were undertaken and they were taken to their conclusion. And eventually we got a number of vaccines. That was as a result of applied research. Ways of creating education and importance of research. There are three ways of creating education. Again, I'm quoting Bassi, 1992. One way of creating education is by playing one's hunches, by using intuition, without challenge and without monitoring the consequences. Presumably, most of us work this way sometimes. Second way of creating education is the historical way, which entails repeating what has been done before, basing today's action on the way it was done last week or last semester or last year. Most of us, I guess, work this way quite often, arguing that there is not enough time to do it otherwise. We are extremely busy with so many responsibilities, and this is how we justify. But there is a third way. It is creating education by asking questions and searching for evidence. It is creating education by asking about intentions, by determining their worth, by appraising resources, by identifying alternative strategies, and by monitoring and evaluating outcomes. This way is creating education through systematic and critical inquiry. In other words, it is creating education through research. And as I said earlier, this is the perhaps most authentic way of creating education through research. Bassi argues that in the past, there has been too much slavish repetition of education following the historical model. Today, there is too much of blind playing of hunches. For tomorrow, we certainly need more recognition of power of research in creating worthwhile education. Now let us move on to different realms of research. There are three realms of research: empirical research, reflective research, and creative research. Let us look at them one by one. Empirical research. In this type of research, data collection is at the center stage. It's a data-driven field of research, where data is systematically collected by strict procedures, critically analyzed, interpreted, and then conclusions are drawn accordingly. And here I would like to mention that there is a general tendency to see this or consider this research as the only form of research, which is a fallacy. It's not correct. This is not the only way of creating research. In data-driven empirical studies, two methods of data collection are involved: quantitative method and qualitative method. Let us first talk about quantitative method. Quantitative data is mainly collected through questionnaires involving closed questions such as multiple choice questions, true-false questions, yes-no questions, etc. The popular scales which are used generally for quantitative data collection are social distance scale of Bogadas, 1926. It was developed in 1926. Likers attitude scale, which was developed in 1932. Perhaps this is the most used scale. And Osgood's semantic differential scale, which was developed in 1964. Whichever scale we use for data collection, if it is data-driven study, we are required to follow certain statistical procedures to analyze the quantitative data. Some comments on the use of quantitative research design. Quantitative research design is used mostly, almost always, in large-scale studies where the sample size is bigger. According to Tannen and Hamilton, proponents of quantitative studies often argue that the best way of compensating for wide variation within the population to be studied is to include very large number of subjects. We cannot individually talk to, let's say, 200 people who are the population of our research project. It is time consuming. Best way is to administer a survey and average out the results. The large numbers are seen as means to greater generalization of the findings of the study. This way we can generalize the findings. Thus, with the help of data and results, quantitative studies strive to prove something. Depend on what our research questions are, what is our research objective, what are we investigating. Based on the generalized findings from the large data, we have the other type, qualitative data design study. Qualitative data collection is inductive in nature, which involves the process of gaining information and meaning through interviews, focus discussions, studying authentic documents, texts, pictures, maps, historical sites, monuments, artifacts, exploratory field visits, films, documentaries, so many. Not just a simple questionnaire, data-driven questionnaire. The use of qualitative research. Qualitative research design is used for small-scale studies, as in contrast with the quantitative studies, where we select a large sample size to investigate, and in that case, extreme variation that exists within the population, within the large population, makes it likely that large-scale studies, large-scale quantitative studies simply average out these large differences. Different people may have different opinions and approaches and attitudes when we talk to them individually. and don't limit their choices of responses. So they simply, large-scale studies simply average out those large differences, and that the averages found, therefore, are actually not truly representative of the population in any meaningful way. They are just averaged out findings. Again, this I have quoted from Tannen and Hamilton. For this reason, in contrast with or to the quantitative studies, qualitative studies try to learn something, not simply just to prove something based on the data. With qualitative studies, we try to learn something by being able to investigate the population of a small-scale study in a more in-depth fashion, not in the way when we gave questionnaire, agree, disagree, strongly agree, disagree, and the statements are written and designed by the researcher. Qualitative research design is predicated on a case study research approach, whereby the researcher is able to build abstractions, concepts, hypotheses, and theories from details and deeper understandings of the population of the study, which is small in number, and that is how it is. That is why it is manageable. In view of this, case studies and small-scale studies are seen as being able to investigate in a more in-depth fashion the interrelationships among a variety of discursive and social factors. It's more discursive. It involves more discussion, leading to a well-grounded research questions and methodologies that can be used in subsequent large-scale studies. If we before conducting a large-scale study, if we conduct first on whatever issue or whatever point we are trying to investigate, whatever research agenda we are trying to examine, study, if we conduct small qualitative study, let's say 10 people, and based on that in-depth findings, interrelated, integrated discussion, based on that, then we can prepare better statements for a quantitative study, which can be large-scale study. Then third one is mixed method research design. Mixed method research involves both the quantitative and qualitative data. We mix. If the analytical results and findings of both quantitative data and qualitative data are compared, contrasted, juxtaposed, which is called triangulation, if they are triangulated, then the study becomes comprehensive, more insightful, and therefore more credible. So far, what we have discussed is different realms. We are in that area. And we have discussed only the first realm, which is related to empirical research. But if you remember, we have seen that there are 3 types of researches in addition to the empirical research. Let us look at the second type, which is reflective research. This type of research can be described as a systematic and critical thinking research in which the findings of empirical research are the starting point for review and argument about the educational issues. Field workers in the sweat and toil of data collection who do all the field work and results are ready, which are to be used by a reflective researcher. So those field workers in the sweat and toil of data collection may castigate these researchers as the work of armchair theorists, which is more than a replay of the age-old battle between the doers and the thinkers. However, both are important and both are needed. Third realm of research is creative research. This type of research is related to devising new systems, the development of novel solutions, and the formulation of new ideas by systematic and critical inquiry, creating something new. This is a realm of inquiry and study which is often excluded from research listings. Generally, most of the journals, they don't consider such studies. It can justly be described as legitimate research, as legitimate as the other two, quantitative or qualitative, even reflective, provided that such researches are carried out with system and criticism. Now, having looked at different realms of research, it is now time to look at the interface between research and scholarship, how they are mutually interrelated and how they keep on influencing each other. And both are very vibrant fields. Boyer 1990 highlights the importance of teaching as research and identifies 4 kinds of academic activity as scholarship. First one, the scholarship of discovering knowledge. B, the scholarship of integrating knowledge. C, the scholarship of applying knowledge. And the fourth one, the scholarship of teaching. The credibility of teaching and learning has become an integral part of academics' research endeavor in the modern system of education for the community of scholars, particularly at universities, colleges, and institutes of higher education and learning. In the context of internationalization of education and heavy competition for regional and international rankings, the research has solidified itself as a predominant demonstration of scholarly endeavor. And it has become the cornerstone both for faculty recognition as well as the renown of the university or the college. Thus, the threefold cord of teaching, applied scholarship, which is service, and research gives the modern academy its clarity and purpose, with research being the strongest bind. Research binds the other two. Therefore, it is worth seeing as to what are the principles and parameters that can guide, that can lead the development and evaluation of research and scholarship. And they are also named as standards of developing and evaluating research. We have named it as principles and parameters of developing and evaluating research. By drawing from numerous diverse sources of information, including documents on university guidelines for hiring, for promotion, for renewing the tenure or extending the tenure, responses from grant organizations, editors and directors of scholarly journals, and a number of university presses like Cambridge University Press, Edinburgh University Press, Oxford University Press, Harvard University Press. A coherent picture of shared elements, the elements which are common in the process of evaluation, takes shape. Classic Huber and Meroff, 1997, suggest a common sequence of events that hold true for all the activities that are praised as works of legitimate scholarship, and therefore also the research, are the following. These are the pillars. Clear goals, adequate preparation, appropriate methods, significant results, effective presentation, and reflective critique. The above mentioned standards or principles and parameters collectively, when they are integrated with each other, provide a powerful conceptual framework for development as well as also evaluation of the works of legitimate scholarship, and therefore for preparation and development of scholarly research. To define these standards of scholarship or principles and parameters of scholarship and research, Glassek, Huber, and Meroff, they ask the following question. We can also ask as teachers and students the same questions to others and to ourselves that are counted as the basic tenets of legitimate scholarship and research. Let us look at all those 6 goals, pillars, one by one. Clear goals. We can ask the question, does the scholar or did I state the basic purpose of my, or in the case of others, his or her research work clearly? Is the basic purpose stated clearly? Does the scholar define objectives that are realistic and achievable? Otherwise, research will not travel and succeed to its intended conclusion. Does the scholar identify important questions in the field of research? Adequate preparation. Does the scholar show an understanding of existing scholarships in the field? It should not be complete repetition. Does the scholar bring the necessary skills to his or her work, which is part of preparation? Does the scholar bring together the resources necessary to move the project forward? Appropriate methods. Does the scholar use methods appropriate to the goals? Does the scholar apply the methods selected effectively, fully? Does the scholar modify procedures in response to changing circumstances? When you conduct research, similar to traveling an unknown far place, then you find so many hurdles for which you were not ready and you hadn't planned. So do you have any response mechanism according to changing circumstances? Significant results. Does the scholar achieve the targeted goals? Does the scholar's work add consequentiality to the field? It should be a vibrant field. It should continue. Others should get into the same field and continue and create further new knowledge, or at least advance the scholarship one step further or 2 steps further. Does the scholar's work open additional areas for further exploration? Then next tenet is effective presentation. Does the scholar use a suitable style and effective organization to present his or her work? Does the scholar use appropriate forums for communicating work to its intended audiences? Does the scholar present his or her message with clarity and academic integrity. And the last one, reflective critique. Does the scholar critically evaluate his or her own work, which certainly improves the work, its quality, its findings? Does the scholar bring an appropriate breadth of evidence to his or her critique? Does the scholar use evaluation to improve the quality of future work? Glassick, Huber, and Meroff hold the view that confidence in the assessment of scholarship depends on using the standards that are appropriate to the full range of scholarly work, and that these standards, which we discussed just now, allow for such an opportunity. Furthermore, so we have these standards, and we have seen those critical questions which are relevant to those fields, those basic pillars or tenets or standards or parameters, principles. Furthermore, research scholars also need to ensure the following in their research work in order to meet the standards fully. Make sure that the title of the research work is clear, succinct, and indicative of the focus of the thesis or research paper. Make sure that the introduction is focused, clear, and complete. Here, Swales and Feek provide some guideline. They describe the generation of the introduction section in terms of the following: obligatory moves. They consider these moves essential. First one, establishing a research territory. Because we are very new, better to review previous literature or previous research conducted on the area that we are planning to investigate or explore. After that, establishing a niche by indicating a gap in the previous research, finding the area which is insignificantly explored or not at all explored. We can choose that and convey and claim that this is mine, this is my or our research niche. And then occupying that niche by outlining the nature and purpose of the targeted research. Also ensure that the background and rationale for the study provides context, historical background, motivation for research theme, its importance, and significance in terms of providing new knowledge and or advancing the scholarship. Ensure that the literature review formulates framework, establishes boundaries, demonstrates clear relationship to the problem or issue being investigated and studied, demonstrates theoretical models or major positions that and trends in the fields that one has chosen for study, and helps in formulating questions that need further research and study. So it should not be an empty list of, like empty shopping list of your research. It should be used to taking desired focus and direction for your research. Research problem, aims of the study, indicates central research problem, provides concise summary of the problem elements, and ensures that the research aims flow from the research problem. In other words, research problem can be broken down into specific aims to study. Research design and methodology section gives clear account of how the research design is conceptualized, methodological framework is selected or developed, and how is it relevant and valid for the targeted study. Ensure validity and reliability of the findings. What do we mean by reliability? Reliability is a measure of consistency in the results, meaning using the same methodology under the same circumstances, we should get similar results. Whereas validity reflects on the quantity and quality of evidence which we have used in support of our findings. This I have taken from Sullivan and Feldman, 1979. Ensure that conclusions are drawn based on sound discussion, argumentation, and interpretation, and alternative interpretations of results and findings. Sometimes your interpretation requires further interpretation, additional interpretation. That is what I'm referring to as alternative interpretation. It enriches the discussion. Ensure that your conclusions describe implications of the findings. We have certain findings. So what? How are they useful? So implications of the findings on theory, further research, and practice, teaching and learning. Make sure that you probe and discuss so what questions all the time on your findings and results, and provide justifications for it in order to bring in depth and rigor required of any scholarly research work or publication. So be your own critic, suspect your own findings, question your own findings. It will make the conducted research rich and more credible. Make sure that you highlight the limitations and weaknesses of your research and suggest for further research that emerges from it. And this is what we mean by ensuring consequentiality. Keep the field of your research, make the field of your research a live field, vibrant field, so that the scholarship continues. Research is advanced, scholarship is advanced from that. This is also the responsibility of the researcher. No need to hide whatever we could not do. We cannot do each and everything in one research. There are limitations. So highlight the limitations and weaknesses. You can give reasons why you could not do, and suggest further scope for research. Ensure that there are no logical fallacies in your writing by avoiding quoting questionable authority and using circular arguments. For example, if you quote a famous film star related to the findings which are the result of medical findings, this kind of quote will be fallacious. So we should select a person, select a research or researcher who is the authority in that field. Now let me quote Gage, who rightly puts it, "I find myself better motivated to succeed in this difficult task whenever I remind myself of what we are all about, teachers and researchers." Educational research this is a very strong statement. All of us must agree to it, support it. Educational research is no mere spectator sport, no mere intellectual game, no mere path to academic tenure and higher pay, not just a way to make a good living and even to become a big shot, because it has moral obligations. And this is what we discussed in the beginning. And this is the last point, which was listed in the specific aims of the study. It has moral obligations. The society that supports us cries out for better education for its children and youth, especially the poor ones. Those are at risk. Those whose potential for a happy and productive life is all too often going desperately unutilized. It is the scholarship of teaching that keeps the flame of scholarship alive. Boyer, 1992. The constructive and meaningful scholarship. It can become constructive if we connect it with the moral obligations that we have. In order to keep the scholarship, flame of scholarship alive, the teachers, to use Mack's genuine argument, need to align their research interests to effect change, promote student agency, and help fight against the achievement gap so that we can help, so that we are able to help the disadvantaged ones, poor section of the society. Thus, the research teaching nexus in principle needs to be transformative and emancipatory. How can the moral obligations of research be fulfilled? Drawing genuine motivation from Boyer's argument that it is the scholarship of teaching that keeps the flame of scholarship alive, every teacher needs to be, should be, a researcher in his or her own classroom, an action researcher. Why action research? To use Miller's words, action research is a natural part of teaching, as teachers are continually observing students, collecting feedback, data, and changing practices to improve student learning and thereby the classroom and school environment. Only thing is we need to record it. We are anyway doing it. Action research provides a framework that guides the energies of teachers toward a better understanding of why, when, and how students become or can become better learners. As Calhoun, 1994, rightly puts it, action research is a fancy way of saying, let's study what's happening in our school and decide how to make it a better place. All of us should take a pledge. Yes, let us make it a better place. To put Pearson and Brown's words, action research is a form of investigation designed for use by teachers to attempt to solve problems and involve professional practices in their own classrooms. It involves systematic observations and data collection. This data can be used by practitioner researcher in reflection, decision-making, and the development of more effective classroom practices. Action research can be conducted in 6 simple phases. Phase 1, selecting an area or focus, identifying an area of interest, focusing on students, examining its immediate and cumulative effects, collecting data about that, collecting existing archive data, for example, results, answer booklets are available, syllabi, etc. Use additional multiple data sources, collect data regularly, promote collective ownership of data, collaborate with other fellow teachers, monitor data collection. Then comes, after data collection, organize data, count instances, events, achievements, failures, etc. of students in the class. Display data in tables and charts, organize it properly. Arrange data by classroom, grade level, discipline, department, school, whatever is applicable, depends on your data. And then finally organize the data for analysis. Phase 4, analyzing and interpreting data. Analyze and question the data professionally, not personally. Decide on the positives and negatives from the data. Determine priority areas for intervention and action for improvement. Studying the professional literature. Explore and identify literature that relates to and matches with your interest and motivation. Gather research articles, reports, books, professional videos, etc. Analyze and interpret these scholarly materials for informed understanding and action. Determine the most promising action which can improve upon the situation. And then phase 6, last one, action and implementation stage. Combine your data analysis and juxtapose with the literature review. Select best emerging options for action and implementations. Most important ones, most crucial ones. Develop short-term as well as long-term action plans. Depends on the problems identified or problems that emerge. Implement most compelling actions immediately. Assess, evaluate results of implemented actions. And towards the end, important questions to ask in the context of action research, to be on the safe side. How is the data related to the study? How is the data related to the study that I have undertaken? What will the data tell about students' learning and teaching strategies? What kind of data will give me the best information about students' learning and teaching strategies? How can I gather data on the same question in different ways? What kind of sample is needed for my study? Do I need to identify student or students for long-term tracking? How much data is needed for my study? How periodic my data collection should be? Should it be on daily basis? Should it be weekly? Should it be monthly? Should it be at the end of the semester? Or should it be at the end of the academic year? Depending on the nature of issues that one is exploring. Do I need to involve others in data collection? If it is bigger, huge, yes. Why not? Collaborative work promotes so many things. At least good relations. Study can become richer. Professional development, mutual co-construction of knowledge and research. Have I established a timeline for my study? It should not be open-ended so that you are led by time constraints and complete the research as soon as possible. Where and how my data should be stored? Are the criteria for analyzing the data established before the data is collected? What approach is going to be used for recording, displaying, and sharing findings? What are the publication opportunities of my action research? Because that is also a requirement, as we saw in the beginning. And here we come to the end of this presentation. These are some of the researches, studies that I have used to develop this talk presentation. And finally, many thanks to everyone for participating in this presentation. And at the end, your questions and comments are most welcome.
Thank you, sir. It was indeed a very, very remarkable and wonderful presentation. And we just saw the specimen of constructive and meaningful scholarship here. And you have indeed, sir, kept the flame of scholarship alive, and with your scholarship of teaching, and I have the conviction that we will really tread the path of research with felicity, aplomb, and a kind of comfort after going through this wonderful presentation. And I also take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Zedan Patil, who has been with us throughout the presentation. Welcome to you, sir. We would look forward to your observations as well.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a very great learning experience for us. And thank you so much for your insights on research. There are some questions in the chat box, sir, if you would like to.
You can select the questions and read, and I can answer.
Sure, sir.
I don't know how many are there.
Okay, sir. Dr. Zedan Patil is asking, what purpose does literature review serve in the formation of research hypotheses, research questions, and research objectives?
This is a very important question, and it involves so many things. First of all, new researchers, those who are just getting into the field of research, they don't have enough idea about the field. For example, somebody is doing in literature. Somebody is doing in linguistics. For example, somebody wants to explore politeness. Politeness is a huge field. Which area? What should be my topic? So if I do some reading, we get more knowledge, more information about it. And also, by reading literature, referring to enough sufficient literature, we also know what has been already done. So we should not repeat that. It will be worthless, useless to repeat the same research. We should find something new. So based on reviewing the literature, we get a lot of information about the field itself, what has been done, and then we can identify the gaps, the areas which are not explored, and then we can choose that area and as a niche area, and then design the main objective, and then break that objective down into different specific aims that can be followed in the journey of research. So that is how it helps. It gives a focus. It helps in fixing the focus and taking a systematic direction. It paves, the way, roadmap. That is why literature review is important. It should not be just a list of summaries based on research papers, and they are not utilized in the research itself, in the construction of research itself, in the development of research itself. And then we can also, those findings can be juxtaposed with one's own findings. And then as a result, we can develop maybe some new arguments, new lines of research, some alternative paths. So it makes the whole activity of research and scholarly work more vibrant, more creative, and more credible activity, endeavor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for such a fruitful answer to the question. If we can have a virtual group picture, because we are not physically present, I would request all the students, all the faculty members to please turn on their cameras so that we can
There isn't any other question, only one question?
Yes, so there is another one. It is also by Dr. Zedan Patil. He's asking, how can we apply Guy's maxims of quality, quantity, relation, or relevance and manner or clarity to evaluate a research document?
Yeah, this is also a very good question. And thank you, sir, for your two very good questions. And to my answer to your first question.
Thank you very much.
This is
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure.
Thank you, sir. We always learn from you.
Thank you.
Even through your questions.
I also learn a lot of things from everyone, including you. Thanks a lot.
So kind of you. So this is a pragmatic theory of cooperative principle, which gives 4 maxims: maxim of quantity, quality, manner, and relation. This can be a very good framework, not only to evaluate research, but also at the time of writing research, conducting research. Quantity, the maxim of quantity says, do not say more or less than whatever is required in your context, which is a good principle. So whenever we write conclusion, whenever we write arguments, whenever we discuss, we can judge those pieces of writing based on this maxim. Am I talking more than required? Or am I talking less than required? More will mislead the readers. Unnecessary should not be said. It confuses. And less will not make enough meaning, required meaning. It will not be meaningful. So we should say whatever is required for the purpose, for the situation that we are conducting that research or writing that research. Then quality, very important maxim. Don't say things which are false. Don't say things for which you lack evidence. Otherwise, its quality will be spurious, and also it is an academic crime, one can say. Manipulating. We should not manipulate. For example, we must not use others' references, others' ideas without giving acknowledgement. So quality, otherwise we are false there. So quality, it gives more credibility, very important. And then the relevance maxim. Whatever you say, make sure that it is relevant to your purpose, relevant to your aims and objectives in the context of research. If it is not relevant, again, it will deviate the discussion, affect the findings, they may become misleading, and as a result, the whole research will be confusing. And the last one is the manner, the way we present ideas. It should be very, very clear, relevant, all right? Language should be very expressive, to the point. So manner is also, it should not be, circular. I had mentioned not to use circular argument. If we use circular arguments, we are violating the manner maxim. And this applies to even conversations. Sometimes it can also be used as a strategy, for example, by politicians. They keep in difficult situations, especially in press conferences, they violate manner maxim. They always beat about the bush or around the bush. So the way answer a question will be very vague. And sometimes they will bring in irrelevant things. So as a strategy, they use it to avoid any complications. So yes, these maxims are very, very important. And especially particularly in research, it will help ensure better quality of research. And as a result, it will lend better quality to the research and credibility.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome, sir. So kind of you. Any other question?
मैम पार्टिसिपेंट शायद ऑडियो म्यूट है.
Yeah, now it's all right. Yeah, audible.
Yes, sir. We have another question from Mr. Akash. He's asking,
Okay.
how is hypothesis proved to be true or false?
Sorry, can you repeat again? How? Could you repeat that question about hypotheses?
Sir, how is it proved to be true or false?
Oh. Just a minute.
So am I audible?
Yes, something went wrong. Okay.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so sorry, there was some technical glitch. I
No problem.
would like to repeat the question once again.
Okay.
So how is hypothesis proved to be true or false?
Let me take one example. Something is. Can I log in again?
Sir, you're perfectly audible now.
Okay. I cannot. Just give me 2 minutes.
Sir, you can log in again.
Just give me 2 minutes, huh?
Sure, sir.
Sorry for that mishap here on my part. So the question was how hypothesis is proved null and void. Depends on, suppose I'll give one example. I'll try to explain this with the help of an example. Suppose I do shopping from 3 different malls. Sometimes I go to mall A, sometimes B, sometimes C. Somehow I developed at random, based on the random experience, that in mall A, prices are cheaper. Is it the reality? This is a question that came to my mind. Are others selling the same thing at a higher price? Then how to find out? This is my hypothesis. It has become hypothesis because this has been my experience a number of times. Somehow I got the impression. Then how to find out? Then I need to study it. I need to examine. So I make a small plan for research. 3 malls. Can I collect data for all the items that are sold in the 3 malls? That will be unmanageable. So what I do, maybe I make a list of, let's say, 20 items or 25 items which are in daily use for almost everyone, like milk and sugar and rice and vegetables. Then will the one visit be enough to draw a conclusion, to test this hypothesis? Then I decide, okay, I'll go at 3 times. One, when we get the salary, let's say on 1st every month. Then after 10 days or 15 days, 2nd time. Then 3rd time, when people will have spend their money and they won't be having money. And then I collect the price for all those 25 items and see, compare, do some kind of statistical analysis. I may find that yes, let's say 15 items or majority of the items in mall A, all the 3 times they were on the least price, for example. Or the variation was very limited. Maybe few items were, 10 paisa more here, 10 paisa less there, which is not very significant. Or is when one particular mall prices are higher when the salary comes. And then at the end of the month, last week or last 10 days, they have lowered the price. So if the differences are not that much, not significant differences, it is a matter of 5 or 10 paisas, then our hypothesis that we drew in the beginning will be null and void. And if we get some significant results in terms of differences, then we can draw our conclusions. Whether the hypothesis was found true or false, or partially true, partially false, depends on the results. So this is how I would explain to test whether it is null and void or partially applicable, valid, or fully valid. Depends on the result. I hope I answered the question to some extent. Akashji?
Thanks a lot, sir. I have learned a lot. Thank you.
Most welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a fruitful session. We would like to see you next very soon in yet another webinar. It is always
Sure,
a pleasure.
anytime. My pleasure. Always my pleasure.
Same here, sir.
We
Thank
are
you
all
so
of
much.
us, who visited KNB for the conference. Always we remember.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Your
you.
warmth, your
That's
hospitality,
such a
your
wonderful,
friendliness.
fruitful session, an amazing one. I had made some observations earlier. I wonder if they reached you. That it is, if you have to see a live specimen, we all present here, of constructive and meaningful scholarship, it is there right in front of us in the form of your presentation and your good self. So you have really made it, so simplified this whole process of research for all the young researchers, all the young students present here, and for all of us also. And we are sure that we would try, I have the conviction that we would tread the path of research with a lot of felicity and comfort now. And all thanks to you, sir, your exhaustive and amazing presentation. Thank you for always sparing your valuable time and invaluable time to be with us. And I also take this opportunity to thank Dr. Zedan Patil, who has joined us today, and we would invite him later for a presentation as well. So thank you so much, sir. And thanks to all who have joined us today, and a special thanks to Madam Principal, Professor Tima Sharma Dwivedi, who has opened new vistas for us through these international conferences and symposiums. And we are really beholden to you, ma'am. And thank you, sir, for sparing your valuable time.
Most welcome, and thank you so much. Thank you so much. If you have made a recording of it,
yeah, we have.
Please share with me.
Sure.
And if you need the PowerPoint slides, I can email it to you.
Oh,
you can
that
share
would
with,
be, yes, with a larger group as well. Yes.
Yeah, you can share with, all the faculty members and if possible, students.
Yes.
Final
so
year students.
Magnanimous of you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Undergraduate students and, those who are doing masters.
Yeah, we will.
And PhD.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And it has been a pleasure and a wonderful session. Thank you.
I'm also very happy to at least see all of you after a long time.
Yes.
Okay, hopefully see you soon.
As ma'am has said.
AMB.
Yes. Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, then. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity to interact with you.
It's a pleasure.
And we will keep in touch, and
yes, sure.
Whenever possible, we'll meet in person.
Yes. Okay, sir.
Thank you so much.